be we getting straight into it. So the U.S. Department, they have released the travel ban, but you still got to be careful. And they allowing Americans to leave. They lifted shelter in place order. So I guess Mexico is getting some calm. But I found this to be interesting. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pedro is suing Elon Musk for saying that the drug cartels control her administration. They do. In a February 24th news conference, Scheinbaum called Musk's allegations presented without evidence on his social media platform. Scheinbaum comments comes days after Mexican officials said armed forces killed wanted drug lord Nemesco Astagrugo Cervantes El Mancho. So this just came out where Musk said that the cartels control her government, and that she thinking about suing him. I found that to be interesting. What's the day? February 25th. So what's happening now? Public transportation and businesses continue to return to normal business operations following a law enforcement operation that took place on February 22nd with El Mancho. The embassies are open. Flights have returned to normal in Guadalajara, and many airlines have extra flights planned for today. Both airports are secure and amenities are available. So it looks like Mexico is returning to normal, but I got some videos and I'm just going to get right into that because I like to back up my stuff. Why do I got this? This don't go here. Hold on. Let me move this video. It's coming Wait, is this gonna be one day, America will become a Muslim state, a Muslim country. Tell it now. That's not gonna happen. Yes, it will happen. How can I enroll my children? It says you get public money through Ohio. Hold on, let me delete that. That one's supposed to be over here. Hey, what is it? Tomden person. Hey, you. How you doing, love? Hey. So this is what was happening over there during the cartel.
What's up, guys? Benny. Mexico has fallen, and if you are an American visiting or traveling in Mexico, you need to seek shelter immediately by order of the U.S. government and the embassy, because Mexico is in a state of all-out war. Terrorist attacks happening at resorts, terrorist attacks happening at shopping centers, at Costco's, cars being used as deadly weapons, vehicle checkpoint stops. Absolute and total chaos in the terrorist state of Mexico for a very long time. We have called Mexico a failed state, saying that the government is under the complete and total control of the cartels, and we have just proven that today. Mexico has fallen. Check this out. Cartel attacks. American tourists left stranded in beautiful Mexico hotspots as cartels torch cars and wreak havoc in code red attack. The U.S. State Department has issued a security alert for all Americans stranded in the area to shelter in place and to minimize their movements. There's fiery chaos after federal forces conducted an operation to kill a prominent cartel leader, and now these streets are filling with blood. Catastrophic photos from across the city showed buses exploding in flames, homes being torched, billowing black smoke everywhere. The intense commotion and code red warning was triggered in the early hours Sunday. Mexican army went into the rustic town of Tilapia.
And we know all about that.
Which is about 170 miles away. Hey, homeowners, if you're thinking about selling... Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago,
this is real George. I love him. I love him. Thanks for the like. Y'all hit the like button.
We're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No,
right.
Please.
Trump want to take out the damn cartel. She keeps saying no.
We have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. They like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too, by the way, in case you don't know. But they come in through the southern border, and something's going to have to be done with Mexico.
Well, President Trump was absolutely right. Because unless you live under a rock, like Patrick Star from SpongeBob, you would know that Mexico is literally on fire right now. Before I update you on that, I want to show you something. Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, literally told the world that they do not plan, or they were not planning to use violence, go to war with the cartels, because it would violate their human rights. It was against the law to neutralize them.
So what? That's some bullshit. Hey, Money Low. Hey, boo.
Primero, porque está fuera del marco de la ley. Todos
hey,
estos
boo.
de la derecha que se llenan la boca de las palabras Estado de Derecho y defienden la guerra contra...
I just finished a video on Freeway Ricky Ross. He trademarked his name. He won. He's suing Rick Ross now. I just did that video. You should go back and check it out.
La guerra contra el narco está fuera de la ley porque como lo dije o lo he dicho en varias ocasiones.
So what she's saying is that she does not want to go up against the cartels because of human rights. How the fuck you got human rights and everything you do is violating human rights? And the fact that most of these cartels, I didn't know they are satanic. They worship Satan. It fucked me up. I'm going to show y'all that video. And this is why they hang the skull, human skulls and stuff. Man, it tore me up.
Marco de la ley. Y segundo, no sirvió de nada más que para aumentar los homicidios en México.
And she's saying to take out the cartels will be like violate human rights and genocide.
Es ir hacia el fascismo.
But
the cartels control Mexico.
They do.
They're setting up roadblocks and torching the cars of random civilians. Again, to send a message that they control Mexico. You can't kill our leader. Apparently, a Costco, an American company, was set on fire by the cartels. Wow. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you appease criminals instead of using force to totally crush their activities in your country. Mexican authorities for decades have been controlled by the cartel, so they have not done anything to crush the cartels. And many of them have said, oh, if we fight the cartels, it's going to be a bloody affair. Well, it's bloody anyways.
That part is bloody anyway.
Between the the Mexican authorities and the cartels.
I mean, they human trafficking kids. I mean, what the fuck? It's bloody anyway. The fuck?
It's happening across Mexico in many places, but more concentrated in central Mexico. The United States Deputy Secretary of State, Christopher Landau, posted that he had just been informed that the Mexican security forces neutralized El Mencho, one of the bloodiest and most ruthless drug kingpins. So this guy's a big deal. It's a great development for Mexico, the U.S., Latin America, and the world. The good guys are stronger than the bad guys. That's awesome. And
this is the real George. I love his commentary.
Now, sources have been reporting that the cartels are targeting U.S. citizens to take as hostages because apparently the United States was involved. And I think we were, because Mexico would not do this out of their own volition. They had to be forced by the United States. I almost said Porsche. They had to be Porsche to do it, right? So
the United States provided the intelligence of where he was, and guess what, y'all? It was a woman. He had a $15 million bounty on his head anyway. Yeah, I did, Mason. We back on Mexico.
Mexican federal forces have killed Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, the founder and leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. The operation took place early Sunday morning, February 22nd, in the town of Tapalpa, Jalisco. In response, cartel members have erected roadblocks and set vehicles on fire across multiple Mexican states. According to high-ranking officials who confirmed the news to Mexican outlet Milenio, the army-led operation was carried out in the municipality of Tapalpa de Allende, a region in Jalisco that had long been associated with El Mencho. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro confirmed on social media that the federal operation resulted in armed confrontations, and that individuals subsequently burned and blocked vehicles across the region in what he described as an effort to obstruct authorities. The governor activated a statewide code red and convened an emergency security committee across all three levels of government: federal, state, and municipal. In Puerto Vallarta, more than vehicles have been set on fire at various points across the city.
We know that, so let's see.
Jalisco, Michoacan.
These gonna be real short. Let me see what this is.
Hello, I'm Linda Ward. Welcome inside the CBC Newsroom. We begin with breaking news on a wave of violence erupting in Mexico. Ottawa is asking all Canadians in Puerto Vallarta to shelter in place following clashes between federal authorities and criminal groups. The violence was sparked by the killing of a powerful drug cartel leader. Puerto Vallarta's international airport has been affected. Canadian Airlines canceling all flights into the city, with some planes even turning around mid-flight. Global Affairs estimates almost 19,000 Canadians are registered as being in Mexico, including over 4,500 in Jalisco state. Ottawa says it is continuing to closely watch the rapidly evolving security situation for Canadians. In a statement, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says the safety and security of Canadians...
Wow, I didn't know that many Canadians was over there.
And it is for...
After the U.S. eliminated a top cartel leader in Mexico today, Jalisco new generation cartel.
No, I'm gonna delete this. We not listening to that. That's just too long. Nope. And I think I played part of that.
And
This
now
is
they have Ryan Wedding. That, you know, these kind
This
of
is
people that are
Oscar
moving
Ramirez. He is
tons and tons
awesome.
of
Y'all
drugs and
follow
money and
him.
all types of businesses
He lived in
with
Mexico
all types of
journey. He is
entities
so
from the
good.
Middle East, from Asia.
Let me
The
see.
code word for that thing that's like Adrena, and then you've heard of Google Chrome, but you take out Google and you got that word that you probably can't say on here. But that word, there's a lot in Mexico.
More presence and more control. Oh, surprise, Tijuana, the city that I'm located at, one of the most dangerous cities in the world.
they have extremely a lot of presence. And it has been a lot of surprise for us that we are from Tijuana, because we thought that the Sinaloa cartel was the one that was having the control over our city. Now we have seen that it's completely, shifting into who has the control of the city, and one of the most important cities that has the most important international crossing in terms of pedestrians, in terms to vehicles from American citizens that live in Tijuana into the United States of America. What has happened in the past, 8 to 9 to possibly 10 hours is the cartel has been relentless, burning automobiles, doing these narco blockades in the middle of the city. I have been reporting on the ground on these narco blockades and these burning of these automobiles, which they have, extremely sent a message to the population of Tijuana. Until now, the government of Baja California has reported more than 16 incidents. This was around an hour ago that I was eating, and I told you, Ryan, that there's around 16 incidents. Incidents, why they call them incidents? Incidents are just not only burning of vehicles, they are burning of also businesses. What kind of businesses? Oxos, that these Oxos are kind of like resemble to a 7-Eleven. And also pharmacies, they have been burning pharmacies. As I was driving back, they burned 2 other vehicles. So you are basically adding to 18 vehicles that they have basically burned in the city of Tijuana. Why they're strategically burning them on specific places? Because I just told you, this is a message of them saying, this is where we have power. This is how it is going to be extremely difficult for you to remove us. Now, how do they got to the execution of Nemesio Oseguera? That it was, extremely difficult to get him before Trump. This is the actual huge difference. Trump comes in, starts putting a lot of pressure on the Mexican government, and starts exposing narco politicians. The Mexican president knows that I have said this before, and I said it to you, Ryan. Nobody in history has the level of extraction of intelligence of information in the government like they have it right now. They have Nicolas Maduro, they have El Chapo Guzman, they have El Mayo Zambada, and now they have Ryan Wedding.
Wow. Go, Trump.
Tons and tons of drugs, money, and all types of businesses with all types of entities from the Middle East, from Asia, from all parts of the world, trafficking fentanyl, trafficking guns, and all types of, businesses that we're doing internationally. Now that they have all this extraction of information, immediately they knew how, and every dirty politician it is involved with narco politicians. This is the ace under the spades under the hand of the Trump administration. If you don't let me in, and if you do not allow me to destroy or to have control over these criminal organizations, I will basically expose your political party, and that political party will be done. So by the way that it looks, and by the media, how in Mexico it is portraying this, it is the agreement with the Trump administration. It is, we're going to collaborate. I will let you in. You will make everybody believe that you collaborated with me. I will execute the mission with you, and you will let the population know that I was the one that executed the mission, and you were just there to collaborate. What happened with Ryan Wedding? You had the FBI director immediately going on statements saying, thank you to the Mexican government. We are so pleased to the Mexican government. Without the Mexican government, we couldn't accomplish this. And it is obvious that underneath it all, they're having agreements to do not expose me as I am just a dumb government. Just let everybody know that I'm doing my job and you're here to collaborate. This is exactly what happened not too long ago.
Even when Oscar gets home to his nice cozy bed, he has no idea if the cartel is going to show up in his front door at 3 a.m. and drag him out, in his drawers, and he's never going to see his family again. And that's just daily life for this guy where he lives at down in Mexico.
Yeah, like they said, oh my God. I'm just like, what, they torture them, and then they basically hide their bodies in a mountain. They put them in a mass grave. So it's horrible. And it's happening continuously. It's happening enormous right now in our country of Mexico, and and it has been multiple children, multiple minors that they have been lost. Now, the missing women, it is another thing. That is the trafficking of women. A lot of these women, they are not found, and we don't know where they are being trafficked. A lot of them, they say they are trafficked like places like Yugoslavia, places like Slovakia, places like all these places that they are being sold.
Damn, that's international. Damn.
They're being sold to those kind of places. We don't know, but there's a massive problem with missing people in Mexico. Massive. Hundreds of thousands of people are going missing every freaking week. And there's these collective groups, and they're called collective groups, colectivos, of group of family members. That what they do is that they got together, all of the family members, they lost loved ones, and they get together and they say, you know what, let's do this job on our own because the government is incapable to do it. So what they do is they get together, they get a shovel, they get the equipment that they need, and then they ask the government just for protection to go. Sometimes they go on their own, and some of them, they end up being threatened. Some of them, they shoot at them. The cartel shoot at them because they go to particular locations where a whistleblower calls the organization they are on social media, and they tell them, you know what, we saw a body that it was buried right here. Go over there, and it is buried right there. So these collective groups, they go and they dig out the mass graves, and sometimes the body is in bones. Sometimes the body is fresh. Sometimes you find a body that it was recently buried. And this happens a lot. And guess what? In Jalisco, where, El Mencho was assassinated, just steps away, kilometers away from the Akron Stadium that is going to be the host of the World Cup, of the FIFA World Cup in June. More than 500 bags of human remains have been found.
500 bags of human remains found.
Some of them, they have been fresh. Leftist media in Mexico has been saying, oh, there was a cemetery there. That's a lie. A lot of the human remains that have been found, they have found flesh, recently buried body. What has been doing it is that the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación has been operating with, a frame as, employing people and putting themselves on social media that they are hiring for whatever company, and they're offering so much money for this. When the people go and arrive to these meetings, they end up being kidnapped and they end up being extracted. You don't know if these people, they just later on, they get tortured, they get raped, they extract their organs. You do not know what happens to them later on. So this is, a situation that is aggravating and it is growing. A situation that is actually, some kind of a concern. There's a siren going on and on and on outside of my house. I don't know. Possibly they did something over here. You don't know about these current situations, man. It's a lot of missing people, and I was planning to go down there, but with this situation, I don't know where am I going to go next. It's difficult. Right now it's difficult to know where to go.
We had one person, and I'm respectful of your time, Master. So anytime you got a bail and you want to wrap it up, go ahead. We got people over in the live chat that are saying, "What is?" I told her I would ask it. She says, "So what is the solution to this? I guess give us a short-term solution. If you were president of Mexico, what would you be doing? And if you long-term, or maybe you can't answer certain questions.
I never
might
put
get yourself in
myself
trouble.
on a political stature. I will never put myself on a political stature. I'm like Emiliano Zapata. Emiliano Zapata was one of the most revolutionary men in Mexico, and he said to Pancho Villa, when they took over the governmental palace, Pancho Villa sat down in the seat of the presidential palace as they just conquered the palace, and he told him, Emiliano, ven y siéntate, celebrate, come and sit down and celebrate. And Emiliano Zapata told Pancho Villa, don't get too comfortable. Sometimes, you get too comfortable and you start resembling like them. So I will never put myself as a politician, but I can tell you the problem. A lot of people criticize this situation, but the problem that it needs to be, we need to copy a lot what Nayib Bukele has done in El Salvador.
Yes.
That is the only solution. I was just there not too long ago. We need to go from state to state, control of territory, the regime of deception. It's called régimen de decepción. We need to start doing that. And ultimately, the problem that we have as a cancer in Mexico is the dirty politicians. Those are the number one terrorists. You want to talk about a terror?
Like America. Sounds literally exactly what we need to do in America to the T.
Just like other countries that they're wearing suit and ties, and I don't want to say.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know,
Go ahead. You telling the truth, Oscar. I love him. His name is Oscar Ramirez.
They're now lighting planes on fire in Mexico again. Mexico's Secretariat of Defense says the army has the top cartel leader known as El Mencho. The Secretariat mentions coordination with U.S. intelligence. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico still advising U.S. citizens to avoid any unnecessary...
Well, that has changed. But they...
¡Vámonos! ¡Vámonos!
We're now being told there's fires in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Cozumel, everywhere. They're lighting businesses on fire, blowing up gas stations. Complete chaos. Costco is on fire. This is in Puerto Vallarta. They're lighting all the cars on fire. Again, retaliation for them taking out a Mencho. U.S. citizens are being told to shelter.
That has been lifted. That has been lifted. They going home now. I love this guy.
I'm telling y'all, the cartel is nothing to play with. And Mexico might have just did the worst thing they could have ever did to the cartel. So one of the most powerful cartel leaders in Mexico, the leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, Emicio El Mencho, was killed by the Mexican military. And since he's been killed, the cartel has been tearing Mexico to shreds. Look at this shit. This is what's going on right now. Right now, nobody is safe. They are tearing Mexico apart for their leader. There's panic and hysteria everywhere. Nobody is safe. Look at this. Everybody is in danger right now because the Mexican military took the life of the leader of their cartel. So they're saying that security forces from several military branches carried out the operation in the town of Tapalco in the western state of Jalisco. No, the cartel wasn't playing. When they came and carried out that operation, they traded fire with the government forces. 4 members of the cartel was killed at the scene, along with other people who died on their way to being treated.
Yep. This is why Trump's... This ain't the military. This is the cartel. This is the cartel. This is not the military. Yeah, I agree with just yes. This is the cartel, not the military. Damn, it's a lot of them. Well, they ain't going down without a fight. This is the actual fucking cartel. This is the CJNG cartel. Damn, it's a whole lot. Oh, I'm going to keep this for when I do the cartels. I'm keeping this for when I do the cartels. Let me keep this. Now, this some crazy shit. This kind of getting off subject, but this some crazy shit right here.
So Mexico's president wants to sue the United States. So Mexico's favorite cartel president, Claudia Sheinbaum, wants to sue us. Not for anything valid. Or it's not like America violated any kind of treaties or anything. But she wants to sue because of ICE raids. So as we all know, ICE agents and the National Guard raided 2 cannabis farms in California. And during that raid, over 200 undocumented illegal individuals were detained and or arrested during it. In that group, ICE agents also discovered 10 underage minor immigrants
Facts.
who were also working on the farm.
Facts.
Out of the 10, 8 of which were unaccompanied. I don't know about you, but it sounds like trafficking. But with all of that, that's not why Mexico's president wants to sue us. During the raid of one of the cannabis farms, an illegal immigrant who tried to hide from ICE on top of a greenhouse fell off. Let's just say he suffered some life-altering injuries. He didn't make it. And now President Sheinbaum is calling those ICE raids unjust. And she
Ain't that a bitch?
The United States.
Ain't that a bitch? And you can't even control your own country because of the cartels. I just had to play that. I'm keeping that for the cartels.
42 days ago, I told you the cartel crackdown had nothing to do with drugs. It's about clearing interference from the American supply chain. Mexico is the lower torso of the American industrial machine. Car parts cross the border 8 times before assembly. Tijuana builds your medical devices, and the U.S. pipes 7.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas south every day just to keep the lights on in its own offshore factories. Almencho's CJNG was running a 15% tax on everything moving through that corridor, and yesterday the U.S. provided the intelligence to have him killed. Not because of fentanyl, but because you can't reindustrialize America with a cartel skimming off every
right,
shipment.
Just
3 days after my last reel, the Pentagon stood up the Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel, a single command center connecting the CIA, NSA, DEA, and military intelligence under one roof on the Mexican border. Trump didn't need to send troops. Mexico gets to keep its sovereignty, the U.S. gets a secure supply chain, and neither side had to run their biggest trade relationship into a military standoff. In that same reel, I gave you one trade, Canadian Pacific Kansas City, the only single-line railway connecting Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. It's up over 18% since I posted, and the thesis hasn't changed. As the U.S. locks down...
That's an interesting perspective. I'm going to keep that video, too, when I do the cartels, because that's interesting.
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. Absolutely. Because they should be. They are horrible people that have been killing people left and right. That have been. They've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They're bad news. Yeah, that's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in. Mexico is saying that I offer.
And Mexico, and she keeps saying no. No, human rights. The fuck, they ain't had no human rights. All the shit they do. I'm gonna keep that video too.
Extremely important. Just today, breaking news, the head of the military and the head of the Department of Defense.
Right, just
made out a statement and an interview said that this was a clear collaboration with the United States of America in regards to the United States providing the intelligence
to do the execution by the federal government of Nemesio Oseguera El Mencho. The violence right now, it was increasing last night. It's here in the city of Tijuana that is connected to San Diego. There was still burning of vehicles continuously in several areas, but until now, schools have been off limits. Now they closed the schools, they closed the educational systems of elementary, junior high schools, and colleges. Businesses are closed for security reasons of the citizens. There has been multiple threats on social media groups by these particularly pages that they are in cahoots with the organized crime, telling the population that they're going to start shooting civilians after 10 o'clock at night. Is they still walking? It is a huge national security threat. I did a video on a report on a vehicle that it was burned just steps away from the border wall. This tells you the level of audacity of the cartel, and they burned that vehicle in front of a post on the territory, in the American territory. This post that it has a huge camera from the U.S. Customs that basically tells you that they did it on purpose, just to tell the American government, we know that you provided the information for our leader to be executed. So at this moment, the federal government has released statements that they will provide the security that it needs to be provided for tourists, and also deployment of more military to the whole country of Mexico. Extremely important. Just today.
Okay, I want to delete that video. Delete that one. Okay, I'm going to delete that. Oh, this is her mayor.
The Mexican federal forces have just arrested the mayor of Tequila, Jalisco, after raiding his home and office in the early hours of February 5th, 2026.
Full name, Diego Rivera. Position, I am the mayor of Tequila, Jalisco.
Diego Rivera Navarro was the sitting Morena mayor of one of Mexico's most iconic towns, the birthplace of tequila itself. He had been running a $3.4 million cartel extortion ring directly out of City Hall.
And in this way,
out of City Hall. Shit, and y'all don't want...
in an operation that surprised the neighbors during the early...
Hey, Mason, let me turn up my heat.
He forced tequila companies to pay millions or face shutdowns. He diverted public money directly to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and he used his police force to back it all up. What followed was a federal crackdown that removed 4 government officials from power in a single sweep. But now, people are asking if Scheinbaum is finally cleaning up her own Morena party.
Hell no, she ain't cleaning up nothing.
After Trump's relentless accusations that cartels actually run Mexico.
Well, I like Claudia. I think she's a terrific person. I would say every single time I talk to her, I offered to send troops.
And she's just not willing?
She's concerned. She's a little afraid. The cartels are running Mexico.
Boom!
Diego Rivera Navarro.
I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to keep that video, too.
Okay, so a few breaking updates, starting with American citizens. They are caught in Mexico after...
I'm going to delete that.
Darby is joining us. He is the editor-in-chief for Breitbart Texas.
This is Glenn
He's
Beck.
also Breitbart cartel.
Look at a gorgeous woman, and immediately you think to yourself, no, this woman is out of my league. She's unattainable. The average...
Military folks were sequestered, so their firearms or any mechanism they had to communicate with the outside world was taken from them. And they did this operation. The Mexican government did this operation. So I think that it's very well documented. The current Secretary of Defense for Mexico being, heavily connected with El Mencho. So obviously, they didn't know. So it was kept very secret. There's a possibility that this was done, without the approval of the Mexican president, but she is...
That's not true. That's not true. That is not true.
The case, I think it really is a situation. If we look at the history found El Mencho and tried to work with counterparts in Mexico to get him. El Mencho was tipped off and was told, hey, they're about to get you, so he would be missing or he would be gone. And this time that did not happen. This time it was kept close to the chest, and they were able to pull it off. And now he's gone. I question the narrative that El Mencho and two others were, injured and then were being flown to Mexico City, and they all happened to die on the helicopter ride to Mexico City, right? Like, I question that narrative. I think that he was probably gonna die, right? He was probably killed. They probably decided, like, hey, if we let this guy, in our system, he is so connected that he's gonna get out. He's gonna be able to get out and kill our families. So I think they killed him. That's the most likely scenario. And now we are in a very different stage, as I've said before. If someone this powerful, the top of the top, can be taken out, it tells everyone in Mexico who's involved in cartels that they can also be gotten, and that they better keep it in check, or they might be.
What does it mean for the president of Mexico?
Oh,
because she could have done this herself long ago. This obviously is, she's kowtowing to Donald Trump, or not.
Absolutely. Well, so if you look at the social media statements of Mexico's.
Let me get rid of this. Oh, shit. We did that one. Delete this one.
Chaos in Mexico as gangs are retaliating against the recent.
We know that one. Get rid of that one.
El Mencho is dead. And I want you to sit with that for just a second. Because for years, we were told this man was untouchable. We were told he was a ghost. We were told the Jalisco New Generation Cartel was too powerful, too embedded, too violent to be cracked open from the top. And yesterday, on a Sunday morning in the hills of Tapalpa, Jalisco, the Mexican army put a bullet in that myth. This is one of the biggest wins in the war on drugs in a generation. Mm-hmm. And I mean that with full seriousness. We are talking about a man who was, by every credible measure, the most dangerous drug lord alive on the planet. Not El Chapo is in a cell in Colorado. Not El Mayo is in U.S. custody. El Mencho, the man with a $15 million bounty on his head.
Yep.
The man who built the CJNG from a regional gang into a transnational terrorist empire operating in all 50 American states.
Damn.
He is gone. And the question now is, what does this mean? How did it happen? And who deserves the credit? Let's start from the beginning, because context matters here. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was 59 years old. He was born in Michoacan. He was a former police officer, a former avocado farmer. He got busted in California in 1994 on heroin charges. Served years, got deported back to Mexico. And the United States government just handed one of the most lethal future narco-terrorists in history back to the country he would eventually terrorize. He came back to Mexico and he never looked back. He co-founded the Jalisco New Generation Cartel around 2007. 2009 accounts vary, and he built it into something that made the Sinaloa cartel look almost conventional by comparison.
Damn.
The CJNG was different. They were militarized in a way that genuinely scared the Mexican military. They shot down a military helicopter.
Let me say that again. They shot down a military helicopter.
Damn.
Assassinate Mexico City's chief of police with grenades and high-powered rifles in broad daylight in the middle of the capital. They pioneered combat drones loaded with explosives. They laid landmines. They operated in 21 of Mexico's 32 states, and they had distribution cells in every single one of the 50 United States. Fentanyl, meth, cocaine. The CJNG was not a drug trafficking organization. It was an army with a drug trafficking business on the side. And El Mencho ran it all. He was described by experts as the undisputed head, a dictator, a man who controlled everything from the shadows and was so disciplined about his own security that the only photographs anyone had of him were decades old. He was a ghost. He was a myth. And on Sunday morning, the Mexican army walked into his myth and killed him. Here's how it happened. Mexican special forces, backed by the Air Force, launched a raid in the small mountain town of Tapalpa, about 2 hours southwest of Guadalajara. When they moved in to capture him, the cartel opened fire. There was a firefight. 4 CJNG members were killed on the spot. 3 more, including El Mencho himself, were wounded. They loaded him into an aircraft to fly him to Mexico City. He died en route. He never made it. The most wanted man in North America bled out somewhere over Jalisco on a Sunday afternoon. And then, because nothing in Mexico is ever simple, the cartel exploded. Within hours, CJNG gunmen set fire to vehicles across nearly a dozen Mexican states. They blocked highways. They stormed the airport in Puerto Vallarta, where American tourists were literally sprinting and diving behind chairs. Guadalajara, the second largest city in Mexico and a FIFA World Cup host city, became a ghost town. More than 250 cartel roadblocks were erected across 20 Mexican states. Schools were shut down Monday. The U.S. Embassy issued shelter-in-place orders for Americans in Jalisco, Tamaulipas, Michoacán, Guerrero, and Nuevo León. Air Canada suspended flights to Puerto Vallarta. This is what happens when you cut the head off a snake that big. The body doesn't die quietly, it thrashes. And we expected that. Anyone who didn't expect that was not paying attention to the history of what happened when El Chapo was captured, when El Mayo was taken. The body thrashes, the regional bosses scramble. The power vacuum opens. And now the real question becomes, who takes over? Because right now, there is no obvious successor. El Mencho's son, El Menchito, is serving life in prison in the United States. His brother is in a U.S. prison. His daughter is incarcerated. His wife was arrested by Mexican authorities. The family tree has been systematically dismantled. So you've got a cartel with tens of thousands of armed members, billions of dollars in revenue, and no clear person at the top. Names are circulating: El Doble R, El Jardinero, El Sapo, the stepson, the son-in-law. What comes next could be a consolidation under one of these figures, or it could be an internal civil war, the likes of which we have not seen since the Sinaloa factions turned on each other. Either way, for America, this is a significant moment. Now let's talk about the part that the mainstream media is going to try very hard to either bury or to reframe. And that is the role of Donald Trump and this administration in making this happen. Let me be direct. This operation happened because of sustained, unapologetic, relentless pressure from the Trump White House on the Mexican government. Full stop. In February 2025,
gone, Trump.
The Trump administration designated the Jalisco New Generation Cartel as a foreign terrorist organization.
Hey,
that
Anita.
Designation matters. It changes the legal architecture.
You going to Mexico in 6 days? Just be careful. It done calm down now. Flights are going in and out. So you should be fine, Mason.
Pressure. It changes what American agencies can do, what assets can be frozen, what cooperation can be demanded. The administration didn't just call them bad guys and move on. They changed the legal status of this organization in a way that had real-world consequences for every banker, every front company,
Facts,
every lawyer
weak ass. Facts.
CJNG money anywhere in the world. Then Trump applied tariff pressure on Mexico.
Yep.
He threatened direct military action.
Yep.
He made clear publicly and privately that he would not allow the status quo to continue, where American citizens were dying from fentanyl manufactured by Mexican cartels while Mexican politicians looked the other way and collected their envelopes. He named names. He made it personal. He made it political for Claudia Sheinbaum in a way that her predecessor never had to deal with. And then this is the part that matters most. The U.S. actually showed up with intelligence. White House Press Secretary
Y'all can say what you want to say about Trump. That's my man. He doing the damn thing.
Levitt confirmed Sunday night that the United States provided intelligence support to the Mexican government to assist in the operation that killed El Mencho. The Mexican Defense Ministry confirmed that American authorities provided what they called complementary information that was critical to locating him. The Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel was involved. The U.S. military played a role. This was a joint operation.
Oh, I'm glad I said it, Enriquez. Can you hit the like button and subscribe then?
Who took rounds, who risked their lives. 3 of them were wounded. And I want to acknowledge that courage directly. But the intelligence that put them in that valley in Jalisco came from the United States of America, under the leadership of this president. U.S. Ambassador Ron Johnson said it plainly. Under the leadership of President Trump and President Sheinbaum, bilateral cooperation has reached unprecedented levels. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau put it even more cleanly. The good guys are stronger than the bad guys. You know who would not have said that? The Biden administration. You know what the Biden administration...
They wouldn't have did shit like they ain't did shit for 4 years but flood the country with all them damn illegals. Thank you, Enriquez.
Doing while El Mencho was running fentanyl into every zip code in America.
Right, that part.
They were talking about root causes.
I'll be right back.
They were worried about being perceived as interventionists. They were managing the relationship. They were being diplomatic. And while they were being diplomatic, over 100,000 Americans a year were dying from drug overdoses, the majority of them fentanyl, the majority of that fentanyl traceable to the CJNG supply chain. Let me put a human face on this. Cindy DeMaio lost her daughter, Rachel, to fentanyl poisoning in 2016. She said this weekend she is grateful that President Trump has raised awareness about fentanyl, that he has helped stop the stigma and educate the country. There are thousands of Cindy DeMaios out there, tens of thousands. Parents who bury children because pills that look like medicine were actually poison, manufactured in a CJNG lab and walked across the southern border. El Mencho is responsible for an incalculable amount of American death. And yesterday he faced the wrath of justice, in the words of this White House, that he long deserved. Now I want to address the people on the left who are already complicating this narrative, because they will. They'll say the kingpin strategy doesn't work. They'll say killing a cartel leader just creates more violence and more instability. They'll point to the roadblocks and the burning cars and say, see, look what Trump caused. They'll note that security analysts warned about exactly this kind of power vacuum and wave of retaliatory violence. And I'll grant them this much, they're not entirely wrong on the analysis. Killing a cartel leader does not end a cartel. Mike Vigil, the former chief of international operations for the DEA, said it himself. You have to go after the infrastructure, the logistics, the money laundering, the armed wings. Removing the head is necessary but not sufficient. That's a legitimate strategic point. But here's where I fundamentally part ways with that critique. The alternative is not better. The alternative was leaving El Mencho alive and in power. The alternative was watching the CJNG continue to expand. The alternative was accepting a status quo in which the most powerful drug trafficking organization in history continued to operate with impunity. The alternative was more fentanyl, more deaths, more American families destroyed. You cannot manage your way out of this problem. You cannot negotiate your way to safety with an organization that shoots down military helicopters and tries to assassinate cabinet officials. At some point, you have to go get them. And that is what happened on Sunday in Tapalpa. Yes, there will be turbulence. Yes, CJNG will react violently in the short term. Yes, the succession battle will be bloody. These are predictable and predicted consequences of decisive action against a massive criminal organization. They do not argue against the action, they argue for sustained follow-through.
Facts.
You don't stop after you take out the head. You press the advantage. You go after El Doble R. You go after El Jardinero. You go after every regional boss who thinks this is his moment to seize power. You make the chaos work for you, not for them. And this administration, unlike its predecessor, has both the will and the legal architecture to do exactly that.
Go on, Trump.
For a moment, because I think we're witnessing something historically significant in U.S.-Mexico relations that deserves real recognition. In the past year alone, under sustained Trump administration pressure, Mexico has handed over 29 top cartel leaders to U.S. custody in February 2025.
That's called leadership. And that's what people don't like, is real leadership. Damn, 29?
37 more cartel members in a subsequent transfer, El Menchito. El Mencho's own son was sentenced to life in federal prison in the United States in March 2025.
Damn.
El Mayo Zambada, the Sinaloa co-founder, is in U.S. custody. El Chapo has been in Colorado for years. And now El Mencho himself is dead, killed in a joint U.S.-Mexico intelligence operation. This is the most significant sustained dismantling of Mexican cartel leadership in the history of law enforcement cooperation between the two countries. And it happened because one administration decided it was going to treat this not as a diplomatic inconvenience to be managed, but as a national security emergency to be solved.
Damn.
The critics said Trump's approach to Mexico was too aggressive. They said the tariff threats were reckless. They said the FTO designations were counterproductive and would damage bilateral relations. They said threatening military intervention was irresponsible and would push Mexico away. And what actually happened? Mexico started cooperating at levels that career diplomats said were unprecedented.
Facts.
Because Claudia Sheinbaum understood correctly that the Trump administration was serious in a way that previous administrations were not. That's what leverage looks like. That's what strength looks like.
Come on.
Not meetings, not frameworks, not diplomatic statements carefully worded to offend no one and accomplish nothing. Pressure. Real pressure. The kind of pressure that makes governments make choices they wouldn't otherwise make.
Come on.
Now, there are complications ahead. Let me be honest about them. The World Cup is coming. Mexico is a host country. Guadalajara, right in the heart of CJNG territory, is a host city. The images of Americans sprinting through that airport and sheltering in beach hotels while smoke billowed over Puerto Vallarta are exactly the kind of images that will dominate the coming days.
Yep.
American tourists are going to ask hard questions about safety. The State Department is right to issue those advisories. This is real disruption and it needs to be managed carefully. The succession battle inside CJNG is genuinely unpredictable. The organization has roots in 21 Mexican states and a presence in every American state.
Damn.
It does not simply dissolve because the founder is dead. The next phase, whether it's consolidation under one of the named successors or a fractured civil war, will determine whether this moment becomes a turning point or just a chapter. And there is the larger question of American fentanyl demand. The supply chain starts in Mexico, but the demand starts here.
Facts.
You can kill every cartel leader on the continent, and if American communities remain devastated by addiction, someone will fill the market. That's not an argument for weakness on enforcement. It's an argument for doing both things at once.
Facts.
Destroy the supply chain, and treat the addiction crisis at home. Those are not contradictory strategies. But let me tell you what is not complicated. What is not complicated is this. A man responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, American and Mexican alike, is dead. The organization he built to be the world's most prolific fentanyl supplier has been decapitated.
Damn.
The joint intelligence apparatus that made it possible was strengthened and deployed by this administration after years of drift. And the American president who demanded action, who applied pressure, who changed the legal designation, who backed it with real intelligence resources, that president is Donald Trump.
Come on.
This is a win. It is a serious, significant, undeniable win. You can acknowledge that and still believe more work remains. You can applaud the Mexican soldiers who executed this mission and still believe we need to stay engaged. You can celebrate this moment and still be clear-eyed about what comes next. But if you're a parent who lost a child to fentanyl, if you're a community that has watched the overdose crisis hollow out an entire generation, if you're an American who has been asking for years why the people responsible for this catastrophe were allowed to operate freely while politicians in both countries talked and talked and talked, then today, for the first time in a long time, you have an answer. Because today, El Mencho is dead. And the message that sends to every cartel boss, to every regional lieutenant, to every criminal organization that thought it had achieved permanent impunity is simple and it is clear. No one is untouchable. Not anymore. This president means what he says. This administration follows through. And if you are in the business of flooding America with poison, your days are numbered. That is what changed. That is what Sunday in Tapalpa means. And that is what a government that actually prioritizes American lives over diplomatic comfort looks like in practice. We will keep watching this story. The aftermath will be violent and it will be complicated, and the media will use every twist to try to cloud what was accomplished. Don't let them. Keep your eyes on the headline. The most wanted drug lord on the planet is dead. American intelligence made it possible, and this administration built the conditions that made it happen. Remember that, because they will try to make you forget it.
Damn, that was good. Damn, go on, Trump. This is oh shit.
Rich is now a distant memory.
Oh shit. Hold on, let me see who that was. Oh shit. I hit the wrong button, y'all. That was Daniel.
El Mencho is dead.
Damn, let me subscribe to him. That was Daniel Whitmore. Damn, he got 38,000 views off of that. He has... Damn, he only got 521 subscribers. Y'all subscribe to him. This is Daniel Whitmore. Damn, that was great commentary. We gonna end on that note. I couldn't have said that better myself. Like, share, subscribe, hit that like button, y'all. I'm out.